Okay, we are now live on Facebook. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our second edition of our Consular Questions Q&A, live Q&A. My name is Angela Simoes, Chair of PALCUS, and with us we have Carolina Rendeiro, or Carolina Rendeiro, if you will, Honorary Consul of Portugal in Miami. And we are hosting this series as a way to just answer some questions that people have about consular processes, right? Like, how do you apply for this, and what kind of paperwork do I need for that? And so that way, when you actually go to the consulate for your appointment, you know that you're going to have all of your paperwork in the right order, that you will have followed the right process, that sort of thing. And in our last session, we did have a few questions that we were not able to answer. And so we have gone and found those answers. Now, let me just pull them up here. There we go. We have those answers for you today. And so again, if you have a question that we don't have an answer to, we will go find it and we will answer it here. But then we're also going to create a page on the PALCUS website that has Q&A, so frequently asked questions. So the first question was, if a minor is applying for citizenship through a grandparent, so someone who is young enough that they can't read or write, so like a toddler, how do they fulfill the language requirement for that path? And the answer we received was essentially they can't. The citizenship through a grandparent requires proof of language skills. So if the child can't read or write, he can't fulfill that requirement. So they will have to wait until they're old enough to read or write Portuguese. The second question was, if there is a minor whose parent is a Portuguese citizen and the parent has passed away, what documentation is needed for the minor to get their citizenship? And does their guardian need any specific paperwork? So yes, a certificate of death and a document showing who has legal custody of the child is required. If it's the mother, then you just need proof of death of the father or vice versa. If it's a legal guardian, they will sign the request on behalf of the minor, but the guardian does not have to have Portuguese citizenship, but they just have to have that document that says they are the legal guardian of that child, right? And so they have the authority to sign for that child. The other question, how long between someone getting their citizenship and them applying for their children? So like you get your citizenship and then do you have to wait a certain amount of time before you can apply for your child? So there's no set amount of time, but you do have to have your cartão de cidadão, your citizenship card, before you apply for your child. So that could take some time before doing, that you're able to do that. As all Portuguese citizens are required to keep their information up to date. And if there's a marriage, so let's say you get your citizenship and you're married, you're going to have your marriage registered in Portugal before you apply for citizenship for your child. So that's an extra step that you'll have to take. And then finally, if someone can't get an appointment at their local consulate, how can they get access to the Livro de Reclamações, which is basically a complaint book, to file a complaint? You can email the consulate and they will put the complaint in the book and make sure it goes through the necessary process. Or there is actually a website that we will put in the comments here, livroreclamações.pt/inicio. So we'll put this website in the comments. And again, it will also be on the PALCUS website. So those were a lot of questions that we had to go research.
It's good to get the right answer, though, right?
Yeah.
No,
it is.
And as you all know, what I don't know, I say we'll get back to you on it, because I think it's important that we have the right responses. Okay. So
right.
Are there questions coming in?
So yes, we have one here on Zoom. Question, if one of our parents have a Portuguese passport dated in the 30s or 40s and has Portuguese inscriptions from consulates abroad, but for some reason are not in the civil registry, original inscription are contained in the MNE diplomatic historical archives only. How do you think we should go about attaining the nationality? That is
Yeah,
a
that's
complicated question.
very complicated, and that's going to have to be done through Lisbon. There's, I personally don't see that being anything we have access to.
Even at a like an official consulate level, they would
Right.
have to go
And
through the
I would,
embassy or
I mean,
okay.
we can get a correct answer on that, but when it goes back that far, if it's not in the system that we can, tag into, then it has to go through the registry and at least, see where it is.
Okay. Okay, awesome. And Chris, we should be able to get an answer for you fairly quickly. I will say that Hugo Gravenita at the embassy has been great about answering our questions. So we will definitely get back to you on that. I'm going to check Facebook here, but I will say that Palcus has gotten a few questions lately about their people just not able to get appointments at their local consulates. And so what do they do, right? So I know in San Francisco specifically, it's a little bit cumbersome, but you would have to go to the website every day and check the schedule to see if an appointment has freed up because somebody canceled. So I know that will take some time, and maybe set an appointment in your calendar to remind yourself, like every morning while you're having your coffee, go to the consulate website, see if an appointment has freed up. So I know that that's for San Francisco specifically. I don't know about other consulates. So I know that Houston has opened up for the first time doing Permanência Consulares, which is basically somebody from the embassy travels to Houston, and people can set up appointments and have, passport renewal, citizenship card renewal, that sort of thing. But they already filled up. It was less than a day and they filled up all their appointments, and they will be doing another one in November. So I don't, if you're in Houston, make sure you get on it for November ASAP. And then Caroline, what do you recommend for other folks?
Okay, so we are still, very fluid with all this restrictions in some areas, and there is still a tremendous backlog. So I know that it's been difficult with some of the consulate offices, but yeah, it is almost like a speed dial to try to get in on that appointment, almost like when you were trying to get a COVID shot, right, here in Florida. We are getting people that are willing to travel to Miami to get some of the work done. I mean, if we can put you in, we will. Just bear in mind that if you're doing an ID card, you're going to have to come back again to pick that ID card up. We can't send it to you. So these permanencias that are happening, which is what Miami is. We're 1 week where we have, government employee come down from our Palm Coast office and service us here in this whole area of Miami. And we see, 120 people, 130, I mean, walk-ins, cards being picked up, things of that nature. All that has to be scheduled. We're not on any online system in Miami at all. So you're looking at the scheduler right now. This is the scheduler. This is the one who answers the phone. This is the one who does the answers of the emails. And I am the one that schedules. And bear in mind too, that people may email me like in the beginning of the month of March for an appointment in March. The appointments for March, we kind of filled them up already the last week of February because we're carrying over people, etc. For example, now for April, I'm still picking up people from March that we were not able to see, and some people that came in March towards the end. So it's always going to lag a little bit because of the volume and because of how we can do it. But, opening up Houston will help, especially it'll help San Francisco, I think, too, because, in Houston, people either go to the east or to the west to get their work done until we have this coming in, which I think is awesome that they're doing it. But as for the consulates, you just have to keep redialing until you get in. I think this will get better sooner rather than later, but it has to do a lot with the backlog we've had.
Right. And we also get a lot of questions about I've tried calling, but I will say hands down, email is usually the best way to get an answer right away. If not right away, at least within 24 to 48 hours, I would say, but email tends to be the best because the phones, I think in every consulate, and I think even with yourself and with like Denise, There's just so many phone calls. It's like overwhelming for like one person. So email is certainly the best. And of course, PALCUS, we also have the consular questions at palcus.org email address. You can always shoot us an email and we will try to direct you and get the answer if you need an answer for something. So we have quite a few questions coming in, Carolina.
Okay.
All right, so first one from Joe Carvalho. I applied 2 years ago and have been to the San Francisco Consulate 5 times. Once to bring back the apostille birth certificate and was assured everything was in order and just to wait. Last time I was there was January 8th, 2021. So what would be like a good follow-up for him? Would he just email them and ask the status, or what would be
Yeah,
your recommendation?
I would definitely email them and just, attach their process to it and just say, I am just seeking an answer on the follow-up as to where this is. Understand the COVID restrictions and things are delayed, but we'd like to have at least a response, and also at the same time, if San Francisco is like too clogged up right now, there's always our embassy, the consular section at the embassy, to also request it from them. They will know as well. So,
Okay.
but since the process started in San Francisco, I would highly recommend San Francisco first.
Okay. Second question from Anna Nunes. Both me and my husband are Portuguese and both have cartão de cidadão. How do we apply for my kids' Portuguese citizenship? Do we need an appointment or is this something we can do online? So first, marriage registration, right?
If your marriage isn't registered in Portugal, the Portuguese government doesn't think you guys are married and those children don't exist, okay? That's the easiest way to put this. So the marriage has got to be registered in Portugal. Once it's registered, then you can, you can apply, at a local consul or one of the permanências for that, but you have to have that marriage registered in Portugal.
And then I will say the paperwork, like the applications for the kids, you can download, but you have to fill them out and you can mail them in, but you will eventually have to go in to sign and stuff like that, right?
And both parents have to be there for a minor. Cannot be just a mother or father going. Both parents have to be there for a minor.
Okay. And do they mail their application to the consulate of their wherever they are, or should they mail it directly to Lisbon?
Well, we're receiving them. They physically come in here in Miami. So I can't give you a straight answer on that one. But here in Miami, they come with all the documentation to us if they're already in place and it's done here.
Okay. And so I just want to be like, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I want to make sure that like the process. So they fill out the application. If they physically take it to the consulate, it won't be they'll just like take it and they'll make sure everything is right. And then they'll have to process it. And then the parents will have to come back again. Right. So, okay. So it's not.
When they're issued the citizenship, the kids, they'll come back for their ID cards. Okay. Just like any other process. They come back for the ID cards. And then after the ID cards are issued, then they come back for the they can do the passport at the same time.
Right. And again, if all else fails, email your local consulate and say, and even attach the documents. Here's my application for my children. Here's my marriage certificate that's registered. Can I mail this to you, or do I need an appointment to bring it in? Like, ask for some clarification there, but that would be our recommendation. Next question from Blanca de Carvalho. My sister and I have an appointment in San Francisco. Do we need double copies of everything?
Well,
so
they're two different individuals.
Well, I think they would need individual applications for themselves, but for example, like their parents' birth certificate or their parents' citizenship or marriage certificate, stuff like that. Do they each need a copy of the marriage certificate of their parents to submit with their application? That's
a great question. I don't know, but I would think, just in more of a common sense thinking, that if they're going in together, that can be done. But then I guess if they have to make copies of it, then there's a surcharge to that. So that should be a question we can clarify.
We'll ask about that. Okay, great. Anna Xavier asks, what kind of services will they do in Houston? So it's going to be the same that you are able to offer in Miami when you guys do the permanência consulares, right? So what would that be?
Right. So we can't do like powers of attorney here. We can't do a white seal in Miami. I don't have that authority here in Miami to do that. So in the state of Florida, anybody that has to have something on a white seal or has to have a power of attorney, it has to be done in Palm Coast. Okay. Now I don't know how Houston is set up. If the Honorary Consul Jose has that power, you know, that power to do the seal. I don't have that here in Miami. So
Okay.
I think
So
when
we'll ask him.
I saw the email, I think that they were going to be doing like that. They had like a list of 4 items. I don't remember off the top of my head what they were, but they were like a list of 4 items in the notice that went out that they would be able to provide the service to there.
Okay, we'll actually look for that notice and we'll get back to you, Anna. So next question from Joe Carvalho. What's a normal wait time for the residency process?
That I don't know. Right now, I mean, things are delayed. In that, the only people that can really answer that would be our consul, our embassy. I mean, they're the ones that handle those residency visas, and we don't handle them locally. So I would the calls I get on that, I always transfer them up to the embassy. But just bear in mind, I know we're all anxious on everything. I get calls all day long of people, want to retire in Florida and stuff. And I tell them it doesn't happen overnight, and they have to be patient with this. And hopefully, we just went on complete lockdown again in Portugal now, which means that for the next 10 days, again, there's nothing going on. So
yeah,
just bear that in mind, that that's going to be another delay in everything that we've been doing. So
yeah. So we'll try and get an answer if Portugal is even giving an answer for something like that. I know like a year ago, we had been told that in Portugal, not even at the consulate level, but in Portugal, they were like a year backlogged. So once all your information went from the consulate to Portugal, it was like another year. So I don't know if that's still the case, but we'll find out, Joe.
I had people in Miami, like professors and stuff, that are retiring to Florida, to Portugal, that have started their process, and they're not going over there until 2 years from now. But they just started because they're just they want to be ready when
Sure.
time. So.
Next question is from John Chaves Souza. I contacted Boston and they indicated since I reside in California, I was required to go to the San Francisco consulate. Is that correct?
If they reside in the state, they should be in the state where they reside, because you have a consulate office in the state of California, just as you have in Boston. What happens is a lot of people, like we get people from Jersey and Boston down here, but they have residency here as well. Okay. And so it makes it a little bit different. So that's a tough call on it, because that's a full-blown consulate office, and not a consulate office.
Right. Next question from Blanca de Carvalho. Do we need to speak Portuguese to apply, or do we need to bring a translator? So I'm guessing you mean to the consulate themselves. You don't need a translator to go to the consulate, right? And if I'm correct, from our last conversation, that the only language required, like actually taking a test or proving language skill, is if you go through your grandparent. If you're doing it through marriage or through your parents, there's no language requirement.
Exactly.
Correct? Okay, so Blanca, if you're doing it through marriage, you don't need a language requirement. If you're doing it through your direct parent, you don't need to have a translator or speak Portuguese. However, if you're doing your citizenship through your grandparent, you will have to demonstrate Portuguese language skills. Anna Xavier, is there a newsletter that we can sign up for to keep up with general news related to the Portuguese news stuff we need to be aware of? Yes, you can sign up for the PALCUS newsletter, It just go to palcus, palcus.org, and right at the top of the page is subscribe to our newsletter. And whenever we get information about consular services that's from the embassy or even from local consulates, we push that out in a dedicated newsletter. And then also in our monthly newsletters, we'll include information about maybe new programs or anything that's pertinent and is important for the Portuguese community to know about. So yes, everybody go subscribe to the Palcus newsletter and then become a member.
Also go on the site for Portal das Comunidades. Okay, that would also have a lot of that updated information.
And again, we'll put the link to that in the comments of this live stream. And then we'll also put it on the Palcus website on that page where we're going to put all the frequently asked questions. We have somebody brought up what they offer in Houston. So in Houston, the documents that can be addressed are the following: the ID card, so the cartão de cidadão, the passport, receipt of documentation for Portuguese nationality applications, receipt of documentation for civil registry of marriage certificate, receipt of documentation for civil registry of death certificate, information queries and other consultations, notary, civil registries, things like that. So when it says receipt of documentation, that just means that they're going to accept the documentation and then continue processing it for the person.
Exactly.
Okay, got it. All right, next one from Sean Ricketts. My maternal grandfather was born in Madeira. I have his original cartão de cidadão, but he passed away a couple of years ago. I was having trouble in Boston getting an appointment for a non-citizen applying for citizenship. Am I currently eligible if my parents are not citizens, and how could I go about it?
So he has to apply through grandparents, but he's got to start the process with the through with the death certificate of the grandfather too. So that's
and the death has to be registered in Portugal.
Yeah.
Okay, so Sean, get your father's death certificate, grandfather's death certificate from assuming he passed away in the US, and follow the process to have his death registered in Portugal.
Yep.
And then there's a whole path process that, again, we'll put the link on our website about all the documentation that you need to go through your grandparent. And also just remember, you are going to have to show Portuguese language skill. So you have to take a test, right? Or show that you graduated from a particular class. I forget what it was. Yeah.
Class or whatever, okay. The Portuguese language school.
All right, we have 7 minutes and we still have a couple more questions.
That's awesome.
I'm Portuguese born and I'm single. I don't have a marriage certificate. Do I just use my birth certificate so I can apply for my kid's citizenship? They have to get something, the mother, Manuela, sorry, this is a woman. So the father, well, the other parent, essentially, there has to be a letter. We'll find out for sure, Manuela, but there has to be a documentation saying that the other parent approves.
Approves, yeah. It's just this is just thinking about, even if it's divorced or whatever, you don't want a parent having sole authority that you're not aware of as a consular, at a consulate office, that child is under this person's legal custodianship, right? And can they get another passport or not? So that's why it's so important that the two parents be together on this. And we've gotten people that are divorced for years, but they do come in with the children, because they want to do this right. So and it's the only way we can do it. Yeah. Right.
All right. So Manuela, we will find out the exact documentation that you'll need to get from your partner or your child's father in order to do that, and then everything else. From Marielle Sheikh, hi Mary. How to get your married name on your passport?
Okay, you have to do that. You do have to come in for that. Let's see, in Miami, they come in for it. You have to do a name change on the passport, and you have to come in with the proof of why the name was changed, if it was by marriage or if it was, by divorce. You have to have those documents.
Okay. Connie Costa. Hi, Connie. I like to see people I know on here. I'm first generation American. Parents and 3 older sisters came from Terceira. Am I eligible for dual citizenship? Yes, and that's probably the easiest way to do it,
Yeah.
right?
That's the way to do it. Yeah.
So yes, Connie, just again, on the consulate website, there is actually different sections. It'll say citizenship by lineage, citizenship by marriage. And so you'll want to choose the lineage one. Right. And it gives you a whole list of all the documentation that you need. You can download the application from there. And then once you fill out the application and have everything that you need, you'll want to take all of that into the consulate. So you have to make an appointment and you have to do that in person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Going back to the woman who was single and wants her kids to become citizens, the kids are adults, but that doesn't make a difference, right? She still has to get, or does it if they're not minors?
No,
do they
if
need
they're
the
not minors,
parental
they can come in on, they can still.
on just one parent?
Mhm, mhm.
Okay. Well, that makes it a lot easier, but we will clarify just to be 100% certain, Manuela, on that. So that, I think, takes care of all the questions with 3 minutes to spare, Carolina. And we actually have a lot of homework to go do because
this is like these are like lightning rod questions, you know, which is,
yeah.
I think it's great. I hope that this is helping people because that is truly the reason why we're doing this. Mm-hmm. And like I said, what I don't know, more than happy to ask and get the answers. Angela's been really attentive to all that too. And I welcome the opportunity to do this. I think it helps us all. It helps us stay on our toes, give great customer service to the Portuguese citizens, and we're all in this together. And you know, the more we can help, the better it is for all of us.
Absolutely. And you know, while there are a lot of standard processes for things, there are some unique situations that you know, the information isn't on a website, and so you do need to have those questions answered. So again, that's why we're here doing this. So I appreciate your time, Carolina, because I know you're crazy busy with all the phone calls that you get and also running your business. Oh, we have a last minute question from Marie Pereira Trigueiro. Do I need to bring my children in to get them Portuguese citizenship? They are both adults and one lives in California and the other Texas.
They can go in themselves to the different respective areas. You know, they just have to have all the documentation with them. As long as they're adults, they don't, you know, they're not, the parent is no longer needed. Just their parents' documentation is needed.
Right. So Marie, you don't have to take your children there, but you do have to help them get all the paperwork in order.
And Marie, just have them pay for their own trip. I mean, if they're adults.
Right.
They want it, they need to pay for it, okay?
A couple more questions. We have a minute left. Can a grandma apply for citizenship for minor grandchildren? So yes, I mean, if the grandmother wants to become a citizen first, then her grandchildren can become, I think that's possible. Yeah. It's just going to take a really long time. So
it takes a while, and a lot of that is happening, okay, because I think COVID brought a lot of stuff to the surface here of people of where they may want to be or not be, and I think going back to your roots has really been a big issue these last 18 months.
Yep. And one last question, and then we're cutting it off. Can we do, which is it's a pretty basic one, and it's going to depend on where this person is. So Maria Helena Franco Costa, can we do the citizenship for my kids in Portugal, and do we have to go to the Lisbon embassy? So if it's through lineage, I know for marriage, I had to send my my information directly to Lisbon. That's what the consulate recommended. Yeah, exactly. But if it's through lineage, it can be either way in Portugal or their local consulate. Okay. And we'll put the website for the ministry that they have to go through for that. We'll put that in the string and also on the website. And with that, it's 9:30, and until next time, Carolina, this has been awesome.
Everybody have a great
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Bye-bye.